we go.
Okay, so I'm going to be discussing the 10th leading cause of death according to the CDC, which is suicide or self-inflicted harm. So I'm going to be specifically focusing on mental health and suicide in men. So mental health. So how many of you guys have dealt with a mental health issue or have known somebody who has? Okay, so a few of you. So this issue is personal to me because I was diagnosed with a mental illness in high school. I was diagnosed with general anxiety, and although it's difficult, especially with the stigmas that there are with mental illnesses, it's not as difficult for me as it might be for men because there's so many societal pressures for men to suppress their emotions, such as sadness, as to where women are encouraged to express feelings of sadness and men are forced to express it towards aggression. So actually, Leah said this earlier, but men are 4 times more likely to succeed in suicide compared to women, and 54% of those with a mental illness actually commit suicide, or it's actually 54% of suicides are people who were diagnosed with a mental illness. So there is clearly a correlation between those with mental illnesses and the lack of support for them and suicide. So today I'm going to be addressing the issue that is the alarming rate of suicide amongst men. I'm going to be talking about some of the solutions that have been implemented to address this issue, such as the organization called Rethink Stigma.com, and then I'm going to be talking about the outcomes of some of the solutions that come out of these organizations. So first, I'm going to start off by talking about the mental health issue of mental health in men. So according to Daniel Freeman from The Guardian in 2012, over 3/4 of suicides in the UK were actually men, and in 2010 in the United States, 79% of suicides were men in the United States. So that's alarming, and especially because the media, it's surprising because the media and movies, they don't make suicide seem like it's a significantly male issue. They make it seem more like a female issue because just because of societal stigma. So that's alarming that we don't do enough to ensure that both genders are able to have a support system. And then and then my second source, the National Institute of Mental Health. There's no date or author for this. It's just like a national organization. But the reason, because of these societal pressures, men and women actually show different symptoms for mental illnesses. So men are more likely to be more aggressive, while women are more likely to express their feelings of sadness, and this leads to women being able to address and better heal in their mental health, while men, they resort to measures such as suicide and usually succeed. So this obviously needs to be addressed better. So here's some solutions that have been implemented. I'm going to be talking about the organization called Rethink.com. This is or RethinkStigma.com. This is an organization that you could donate to, or you could go on the website and you could take their pledge to stop the perpetuation of toxic stigmas that tell men to suppress their emotions and tell women to express them. And then the organization, it funds research, and it also it sells T-shirts supporting mental health, and it has a Twitter account as well. So it's not just funding these research organizations, but it is also educating people on mental illnesses. And then another source that I have for this is the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and there's the website suicidepreventionlifeline.com. Basically, this is like a last resort, and if anyone is struggling with thoughts of suicide or inflicting self-harm, they could call the number or go on the website and they can receive one-on-one help through this. You could volunteer for one of these hotlines as well. So just like a support system or personal communication like that, even something like that goes a long way, and it could save a life. So those were some of the solutions. I'm now going to be talking about the outcome of these solutions. So because of the organizations like Rethink Stigma, they're able to fund research. So the first research that I'm going to be talking to you about that shows the effects of some of the solutions is going to be one that discussed by Jill Robinson in the intervention of, this is 2016, in the intervention of early intervention of psychiatry, 2016. She talks about a study that was done at American University where basically the Canvas, or like the online website that they use for their school, they try to make it more like social media based so that students could communicate with each other, they could express they could talk about like assignments or like discuss anything really, and this helped build a sense of community. And just by doing that, the depression and mental illness rates in the students at American University decreased significantly. So they just took simple measures like that just to address the issues of mental health. And then the second research I'm going to be discussing is bibliotherapy. So this was done in Iran. This is according to Roya Taliban in 2016 from the International Preventative Journal of Preventative Medicine. Basically, bibliotherapy is just they just took 70 different patients of mental health and they just sent them different texts, and just by doing this, their risk of suicide and mental illness was decreased. And then, so I'm just going to review some of the things that I talked about today. So I addressed the issue of mental health in men and the stigmas that surrounding mental illnesses with men. I addressed some of the solutions and the organizations such as Rethink Stigma. And then I talked about some of the outcomes because of the research that has been done due to organizations such as Rethink Stigma. So I encourage everyone to visit the website Rethink Stigma and take the pledge, or even if you don't take the pledge, make sure that you're not perpetuating stereotypes or like just assuming that like one gender should show don't assign genders certain emotions, because this leads to the alarming statistics I shared earlier, the disparity between men and suicide and women. Thank you.